first boss of the Dark Souls trilogy. A tutorial boss staying on your way out of the undead asylum. Actually, he is probably the first real enemy in this game too. Before him, there were only a few hollow ones staying passively against the wall. It acts as a surprise. Right after your first bonfire, you enter a big room, maybe thinking that you'll soon be out of this rotten asylum exploring the beautiful world that you've heard so much about, and then this dude shows up. He doesn't let you go, but you haven't even received your weapon of choice yet. You only have this broken straight sword, supposedly the best weapon in the game, according to the original IGN guide. You could try fighting the demon with this weapon. Should you choose, the game will even reward you if you manage to defeat him this way by giving you Demon's Great Hammer. It's pretty tedious since broken sword deals so little damage, but it can be done with some skill and a lot of patience. Or you can just use black fire bombs. Instead of fighting the boss, most players would notice a small door on the left and quickly run away from the threat. This act beautifully fits into Campbell's hero journey. The hero receives the call of adventure, but they refuse it. This also brilliantly, subconsciously even, teaches the player that it's okay to run away from the difficult opponent. Like I've said in the Vanguard video, the first boss of Demon's Souls teaches the gamers that it's okay to die. It's okay to lose something, whether this something is a bunch of souls or an opportunity to defeat the tutorial boss. And that, in my opinion, was a really good lesson in the context of that game. Demon's Souls wasn't linear, in the sense that after beating the Phalanx you could explore each of 5 worlds in any order you'd like, but worlds themselves were super linear. Because of that, sorry, I forgot that this series is on boss design only. I could talk about those games for days, literally, and maybe one day I will, just let me know if you'd watch it, but this is not the day. Anyways, back to Dark Souls. Dark Souls is pretty open game. You can explore it in many directions, so it is possible to reach mid-game locations with mid-game enemies very early. The first encounter with Asylum Demon tells the player that it's okay to turn back, level up, gather new equipment, and then return to the challenge stronger. After fighting your weapon of choice and receiving an Estus flask from Oscar, who represents the Campbell's Journey supernatural aid, and kinda also he represents the call of adventure since he's the one who gets you out of the cell, the chosen undead is finally ready to face off the Threshold Guardian. And we can now finally talk about the actual boss fight. Well, almost. Let me say a few words about the arena where you fight the demon first. The cool thing about it is the fact that you can enter it in 2 ways. The main entrance is from the bonfire, but if you explore the asylum, you'll eventually fight your way to the higher floor and the fog wall. This is, I believe, the only instance of something like that in the entire FromSoft Souls game series, so it's pretty neat. Behind this fog wall is a balcony, and our greyish friend. You can perform a jumping attack right onto his head, dealing absurd amount of damage, practically cutting his health by half. Besides that, it is pretty standard rectangular boss arena. Fillers and lots of pods make a satisfying mess when you roll into them or demons breaks them trying to hit you. Remember, it is always more interesting to have a shootout in a bar, where there are lots of bottles that could be broken, rather than in an empty room. And now, the actual boss fight. He basically has only 3 attacks, 3 very slow and deliberate attacks, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's a tutorial boss after all, it can't be too hard. The demon is so big and fatty, he should be slow. His hammer hits like a train though. Main attack in his modest arsenal is a simple swipe. He does it when you're in front of him or at his sides. If you're at his booty where he can't reach you, he will use his little pathetic wings to fly a few meters off the ground and then slam you with his juicy ass, just like the Vanguard did. If you play a ranged mage, a bowman, or you just want to heal in a safe distance, this boss will quickly shorten that distance, reaching you with his long hammer. He can also knock you off the balcony if you wait there too long. Upon defeating, he drops 2000 souls, 1 humanity and a big pilgrim's key, which opens the big door. Interesting to add is the fact that he doesn't drop the big key if you manage to kill him during the first encounter. Oscar gives it to you instead. My tips on defeating him: you can pretty consistently bait out his booty attack. Just strafe around him, then when you see him taking off, take a few steps back, and when he slams at the ground, quickly close the distance and attack as he is recovering from the booty slam. You can also pick black fire bombs at the character creation, just 4 or 5 of them and you're good to go. They are especially useful if you want to defeat him at the first encounter to obtain his great hammer. Did you know Asylum Demon is the one who punched Oscar off the roof? You can even see him standing on the roof when we first enter the arena and look up. The Asylum Demon is basically Vanguard 2.0. The similarities are pretty obvious if you played Demon's Souls or you watched my previous videos. If you did not, then what are you doing here? Go watch the previous episodes in the series. Thanks for watching, to the next time.